The first decline or depreciation trend of the currency, you have to first take into account the currency first strengthened significantly prior to September of 2014, and this was on account of surges in capital inflow.
The Malaysian Ringgit is the currency of the Malaysian Federation. The currency abbreviation for the currency is RM, and the currency code is MYR. This is the code seen when requesting a currency quote, such as USD/MYR, which shows the rate of exchange between the US dollar and the Malaysian Ringgit. Ringgit Malaysia acts as a medium of exchange in transaction for Malaysia, and being one of the major currency in Asia during 1990s. It is a currency, goods and services that providing in the market, which means it has the value on buying as a process in change of commodities. Money also serves as a guide to the value and price of goods, which will lead to instability in the value of money, because the value either appreciate or depreciate of money makes it unlikely to be a benchmark for existing goods and services. Theoretically, depreciation of ringgit means that consumers should experience cheaper prices of local products. Local producers will be more competitive compared with their international competitors and will help improve productivity levels. In the present context of Malaysia, the implication of a weaker ringgit to the economy in the short and medium terms are more likely to ratify more positive than negatives. This can be seen from the supply and demand side of the equation. On the supply side, the ringgit depreciation signals a changing game for industry players. Despite losing to innovation, it called for prior readjustment to their business models so as to become more competitive in the globalized world. This is especially true for our automotive and services industries. On the demand side, the implication of ringgit depreciation will probably increase consumers' purchasing power and broaden their choices, particularly for local products and services. Due to healthy competition, the quality of local products and services will improve since local players would need to increase their productivity to stay afloat in the market. The cascading effect will be a surge in wages for the labor market, and goods and services will be of higher quality than before.
Is government concerned about the ringgit performance, and if so, what will government do about it?
The ringgit strengthened today. The fact is that all the currencies are now depreciating like mad. It's not only Malaysia, but others are depreciating at a much faster rate than us.
Now, there are some factors that cause the depreciation of Malaysia Ringgit. The first factor is macroeconomic factors. Economic conditions in Malaysia, such as inflation, interest rates, and economic growth can affect the value of currency. For example, inflation can lead to decline in value of Ringgit Malaysia relative to the other currencies. And the next is politic instability. Politic uncertainty can cause the depreciation in Ringgit Malaysia. If the investors are not sure about the politic stability of a country, they might be less willing to invest in the country, which also can lead to a decline in demand for the currency depreciation. Moreover, trade balance will lead to a depreciation of Malaysia Ringgit. If our country has trade deficit, which means import more than export, it will lead to decrease for the currency. Last but not least, external factors such as global economic conditions and geopolitical events can cause the depreciation of Ringgit Malaysia too.
Contoh berbanding dengan US dollar, walaupun banyak langkah dilakukan seperti kenaikan OPR beberapa kali.
I think this is right lah. We have repeated this over and again. Kan, dia ada banyak faktor, tapi faktor yang paling dominan sekarang ialah faktor pasaran antarabangsa.
Since the start of the US normalization cycle in 2022, the ringgit has been driven by US dollar developments.
According to the Bank Negara Malaysia reports, in 2022, the ringgit exchange rate experienced a sustained depreciation against the US dollar, as the ringgit against the US dollar close to levels last experienced during the Asian financial crisis, which is AFC. This has become a concern. There were several negative impacts of the depreciation of ringgit Malaysia. First, increased price of goods and services. If you have a mixed feeling about the GST imposed on things that you like, a weak ringgit will worsen your buying mood. prepare to tighten your belt as the increased cost of imported goods will be reflected on the price tag. This result will be shown on the price hike of imported fresh goods such as vegetables, fruits, and so on.
The biggest headwind is the inflation.
Second, inflation. When the ringgit experiences depreciation, the cost of the imported goods will increase as mentioned earlier. The use of raw materials from foreign markets will also contribute to inflation. As a result, the domestic producers forced to sell their goods on a higher price to sustain the increased cost of operation. Third, costly overseas travel. The poor exchange rate for ringgit equals to a lesser value when you convert it to a foreign currencies. You should revise your plans to study or travel abroad as the expenses in your budget will be increased on a consequential proportion.
Spend around 40% of their income on food, so they're hardest hit by rising food prices. For much of last year, food inflation in Malaysia was around 4%, but rose to 7% in November.
Last one is reduced purchasing power. When the price of goods and services increase, but your income is not, so what do you have left? You have only left a diminished purchasing power. You have likely felt the pinch after the implementation of GST. With the weakening of the ringgit, the price of goods are expected to increase further. The increased cost of goods will not permit you to spend freely. As a result, there are only a lesser things you can buy with your money as your purchasing power is reduced.
Now we are going to the next part, which is the positive impacts of the depreciation of the Malaysian ringgits. So in this part, we got 5 positive impacts. So for the first one is export competitiveness. A weaker ringgit can act as a stimulus to the Malaysian businesses as it makes Malaysian export more affordable for foreign markets to purchase Malaysian-made goods and services. When the local currency depreciates, it lowers the prices of Malaysian goods and services in foreign markets. Potentially, it will boosting export volumes. This also can lead to increased export revenues, benefiting industry such as manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism. The second positive impact is tourism boosts. A weaker currency can make Malaysia a more attractive destination for international tourism. Foreign tourists will benefit from a weaker ringgit and it grants them a higher purchasing power. Foreign visitors may find that their money can stretch further, making travel, accommodations, and shopping relatively more affordable. This can stimulate tourism, bring in more tourists, and increase revenue for the hospitality and tourism sectors. So for the third positive impacts, which is foreign investment attractions. The falling ringgit made investment in Malaysia more welcoming. The depreciation of ringgit Malaysia can make Malaysia an appealing investment destination for foreign investors. With a weaker ringgit, foreign investor can acquire assets such as property or stocks at a relatively lower cost. This can encourage foreign direct investment (FDI) inflows into the country and leading to job creation, technology transfer, and economic growth. Support for domestic industry is the fourth positive impact for the depreciation of ringgit Malaysia. So, depreciation of the ringgit will increase cost of important goods and will be reflected on the price tag also. So this will make important goods relatively more expensive. This can provide a competitive advantage to domestic industry. Local consumer will definitely switch to local goods and services because it's cheaper than imported goods.
I will talk about how to overcome the depreciation of ringgit Malaysia. Firstly is strengthening economic fundamentals. This can help us to overcome depreciation by addressing the root causes of currency devaluation and creating a more resilient economy. This is because strengthening economic fundamentals can increase investor confidence. By implementing economic reforms and structural changes can enhance the overall confidence of the investors in the economy. This will increase the confidence and can attract foreign direct investments. So this will cause the country's foreign exchange reserves and stabilizing the currency. Secondly, boosting export competitiveness. Boosting export competitiveness can help us to overcome depreciation by mitigating the negative effects of currency devaluation on the economy. For example, price advantage in international markets. When a country's currency depreciates, its exports become relatively cheaper for foreign buyers. So this price advantage can make the country's export more attractive and competitive in international markets. By actively promoting and supporting export-oriented industries, countries can capitalize on a weakened currency and increase their export volumes. Lastly, regional and international cooperation can help to overcome depreciation by fostering stability, facilitating economic integration, and providing mutual support among countries.
If there are information sharing and collaborations between countries, the economic trends, market developments, and exchange rate movements can enhance the understanding and cooperation among countries. This collaboration can help countries to make informed decisions and take coordinated actions to address currency depreciation collectively.